A little while ago, I made a video about making the most of what you have with what you've got. Specifically, I did some interesting things with these cans. Right now, I'm looking into how to do that with some food stuff kind of things. Specifically, I'm wondering how I might be able to go about making bread if I didn't have any sort of flour at my disposal. Well, doing a little bit of research, I found out that grain, the word grain, is kind of a broad term. It's surprisingly, it covers a lot of different types of vegetation and things. For instance, a grain could include types of oatmeal. It includes lentils. It also includes different types of seeds, like these sunflower seeds right here. That being said, what I'm going to try to do is make some of my own grain powder and try to make some kind of bread cake with them. If this works out somewhat like I imagine it will, I'll be able to have some kind of experimental cakes made out of oatmeal, lentils, and seeds. Now, your situation might be different depending on what you've got. I would just suggest looking on Wikipedia and going through that list because there's quite a number of different items there. As you can probably imagine, a lot of my grains are not really fine enough to do any sort of baking with. I had, for some time, tried to find out some way I could do something about that, but unfortunately, I have not yet had a whole lot of success making some kind of like mortar or pestle. If you don't recognize it, this is that kitty litter that I showed in a previous video. It's somewhat put together, but it's also kind of crumbling and falling apart too, so this isn't gonna work for grinding grain. Instead, I'm going to be using this small little chunk of brick and this granite tile. It's not terribly coarse. Hopefully it will still work. I don't know. This is my first time doing this, so we're gonna find out together. I think I'm going to start with the easy stuff first and start grinding my oats. And one reason I'm putting quite a bit of emphasis on using oats as a type of grain for making bread and other things like that. Not only can you find a large amount of oatmeal in bulk in your grocery store, but you can actually find it growing in suburbia. If I've guessed this and identified it correctly, these are northern sea oats, and I found these walking around in a neighborhood nearby. So yeah, you can literally go pick your own grain if you really wanted to. Anyway, here we go. I hope this is clean. I think I'll just wash it real quick. Okay, I feel better. I don't know how much I could fit on here at once. Yeah. This thing's not very ergonomic, but I suppose I should be happy that I found anything at all. I'm gonna try the coarser side. That's too small. Okay. I think it's getting smaller. This tile isn't as coarse as I thought it would be. On the other hand, I guess I don't have to worry about getting a whole lot of ceramic brick flakes in my flour or oatmeal dust. You know, I think I realized I'm probably doing this the dumb way. If you've got a blender, that would probably make this so much easier. I don't, unfortunately. I think I'm making progress. It's a little bit powdery. At least I think it looks better than what it did when I started. There's a little something just for comparison. I still got quite a bit in there, and I really don't feel like grinding all of it. So I think I'll just stick with this, maybe break down that, and then put all this aside and then move on to grain number 2. For my next trick, I'm going to be using some lentils. You know, I don't remember when I bought these. I should maybe use these. I mean, like the whole bag. Well, I'll look that up later. These ones are a little bit tougher. Oh man, I don't want to start smashing these. I know they're just going to fly everywhere. Seriously, these things feel like corn kernels. I think something's happening. Oh, I'm also getting brick dust in my meal. Hopefully this isn't poisonous. I'm pressing down with the coarse side, if you're wondering what I'm doing. It sounds like something's happening. Oh, more brick. Well, it looks like it's breaking up anyway. Again, if you've got a blender, feel free to use that. I've been at this batch for maybe 30 minutes now, and looks like I still got a way to go. I don't really want to spend too much more time on this, so I think I'm just going to call it quits and move on from this. One thing I learned that I didn't know was that lentils seem to have kind of this husk around all the grains, or the seeds, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know if you're typically supposed to remove that, or what. Even if I was going to try to remove those, I don't know how I would do that. I don't have any sort of sieve or screen mesh that would really work with this. If I did, I'd end up getting rid of all these large grains, and then I'd really have nothing left. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna call this good, and then I'm gonna move on to my sunflower seeds. Okay, well, unlike lentils, I'm pretty sure that you're supposed to remove the shell from sunflower seeds. Unfortunately, these came with shells, so I've got a little bit of work to do to get these kernels out. I tried looking for the pre-shelled ones, but apparently my grocery store did not carry them. I thought it was weird. Now that I think about it, how do you shell these without eating them? So you just snap them and... Okay, that works. Well, they're definitely easier than those lentils to crush. Okay, I think I've got a system going here. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the seed by the large end. Let's see if you can see that. No, wait. There we go. I'm taking the seed by the large end. I'm then crushing the small end with a flat surface. And then once I have it split somewhat, I put it aside, and then I can go through it later and just open it with my fingertips. If you try to crush it on the backside where the large end is, it seems like that's quite a bit of a stronger point, and that takes a lot more effort to crush. I just realized I'm crushing seeds with a rock. I feel like some kind of ape or something. Yep. This is how I spend my Thursday evenings. I guess it could be worse. I mean, I could be in Skype meetings all day. Alright, I think I've removed all my shells. So now I'm going to go ahead and start turning this into powder. Oh yeah, this is definitely much easier than those lentils. I actually had in mind to do a fourth grain, which would be rice kernels. However, I know that those are really tough when they're dry, and I'm kind of glad I chose not to do them. Although I suppose if you let the lentils soak for a little while, they would be a lot easier, a lot more soft. I don't know. Maybe another day. This long rolling motion seems to really help crumble down some of the larger kernels. In fact, I think this is probably the easiest of the three that I've done. Then again, it did take some figuring out, so I suppose I should probably consider that. It smells kind of good. It almost smells like peanut butter. I think this one turned out really well. It crumbled really easily. Any sort of remaining shells that were still in there were pretty easy to find and pick out. And it almost turned out just like this commercially available dehydrated peanut butter stuff. I think it looks pretty similar. Granted, mine's a little coarser, but whatever. Anyway, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add water to all three of these different flours. I'm going to turn them into some kind of dough or paste or whatever. And I'm going to cook up a really tiny little cookie of each. So I'll have 3 teeny tiny little loaves of different grain bread. I'll cook those up. Really either, I think I'll just throw them on top of the stove. I'll cook them and then I'll give them a try. Be careful not to go overboard with your water. I made these a little bit soupy. Whatever, hopefully the water will cook out anyway. Alright, here goes. I've got my cooking surface. I've got my 3 different doughs. You can see that. Maybe? Yeah. And I'm going to mush all these doughs into a small little patty, cook them all up, and then give them all a taste test. I think I'm going to first start off with a little bit of butter. I don't know if you really need this, but I found that it helps things not stick, and it helps things cook a little bit more evenly. This thing is really mushy. Well, they definitely feel like ordinary flour dough. I mean, they're a little too sticky to handle and roll out into any sort of shape. So I'm just gonna mush them into a little pile, and hopefully they stay together whenever they're done cooking. Whenever done is. Alright, not sure if you can see that, but in this sequence I've got my oatmeal grain, I've got my lentil grain, and then over here I've got my sunflower seed grain. There's really not much happening. It's really just 3 different piles of liquidy mush that will hopefully turn into some kind of solid that I can pick up and eat. The oatmeal one looks like it's going pretty well. Not sure what's up with these other 2 guys. Okay, there we go. I think we got some action going now. It looks like my pizza platter was starting to deform and warp because of the heat, and it wasn't touching the burner all the way. I removed one of the elements, and now it looks like it's getting better contact. Thing's actually going pretty quickly. In fact, I think the oatmeal one's almost congealed together now. I'm going to give it a few more seconds and then I'm going to flip it over. The other 2 are definitely drying out. Hopefully they're edible. Oh my goodness. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Please, 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 please. Wait, what am I doing? Nice and gentle. I think I should have washed this off. Oh well. More flavor. It looks like the lentil patty is having that kitty litter syndrome. The granules are just too large to cohere together. Alright, I flipped everything twice now, and hopefully it should be ready for some kind of taste test. Hopefully they will stay together long enough for me to actually pick them up and try them. Alright, here's what I got so far. Down here, I've got my oatmeal cake. And this isn't burnt or toasted, by the way. This originally had some kind of cocoa flavor to it, so this is probably just all that chocolate, whatever. Here is my lentil cake. As you can see, it had a little bit of difficulty handling, and it started crumbling apart. If I managed to pulverize these grains a little bit more, this probably would have had a better, smoother consistency, and it probably would have stayed together, kind of like this oatmeal one. And over here, I've got my sunflower seed cake. Now I use the term cake loosely because, of course, these are really tiny. I mean, like, there's my thumb. But I think this is really just kind of an exploration before I put in the time and energy to scale things up. Anyway, so I'm going to try these out, and we'll find out what they taste like. Surprisingly, I can actually pick up the oatmeal one. So that's a definite plus. I mean, it's kind of grainy. Not really too much flavor. There's a little bit of that original, like, sea salt and cocoa flavor. But other than that, it's just kind of like a really grainy cookie or something. It's not bad. But like I said, it's just kind of plain. Alright, I'm going to try to pick up this guy. I'm not very confident. Nope. Looks like I'm having kind of the same kitty litter clay issue. Oh well, whatever. Again, here's the lentil cake. Obviously very crunchy. The taste isn't bad. It's got a very slight bean flavor, but I would say it's more like eating a cookie that's made out of all of those half-exploded popcorn kernels that you would find in microwave popcorn. I like those. I mean, I don't think everyone might, but I do. Okay, over here, we got our sunflower cake. I'm very pleased that I can pick up most of this. I had a little bit of an issue when I first started cooking it, but whatever. For the most part, it turned out pretty well. I can pick it up pretty easily. So, let's give it a shot. And it just tastes like sunflower seeds. There's a very oily, buttery flavor to it as well, which I guess is kind of to be expected. That's how I cooked it. But it's not bad. It's pretty good. Now for all three of these, first off, I would definitely say that my fineness of my grain would definitely have to be much smaller. It'd have to be much more fine. And I think I would probably start adding in a few more ingredients, like an egg. I think that would really go a long way to help keep some of these things together. But at the same time, I'm pretty surprised with what I could do with just some ground up grain and a little bit of time.